What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So I saw this story today and I thought it was fake, like I'm sure some of y'all did. I saw that the Dolphins and the Steelers were trying to discuss a trade for Jonnu Smith, and I was like, that's wild because Jonnu Smith is under contract. Why would we get rid of Jonnu Smith? We haven't drafted a tight end. There's no heir apparent. What's going on? Money. Just get down to it. It's money. It's simply money. Jonnu Smith is basically due to make $4.8 million next year. And he thinks, hey, I am outplaying that contract. I want a new contract. The Dolphins were like, I'll maybe give you a new contract. And then immediately were like, well, might as well trade you. Now, I don't know if that's how it's going to go down. There may be some posturing going on. Jonnu has come out and said he prefers to stay with the team just on a new contract. But we've spent the whole offseason saying the Dolphins don't have money. We're trying to get free agents. We don't have money. We need a cornerback. We can't afford one. And then Jonnu, who we thought locked him up, 4.8, we're good. Some incentives in there can go a little higher. Jonnu was like, nah, I'm getting older. I had a great year, arguably the best year of my career. I want to get paid now. And I did not hear any rumblings about this, any inklings of this. As far as I know, we were all pretty good. Maybe the team would have extended him anyway, but I didn't see this like power play situation going on. Enter the Steelers, who lost George Pickens in the offseason, brought in DK Metcalf, and have Pat Freiermuth, so I thought they're okay at that position. Quarterback, disaster. So I don't know if this is a move to try to build the offense around either Mason Rudolph or maybe Aaron Rodgers, but the Steelers' offense is not good, right? And so the idea is that they want to probably get better at offense. Maybe they want to go to two tight end set. We don't know. The thing to keep in mind is that Arthur Smith, who's the OC for Pittsburgh, was the coach in Tennessee when they drafted Jonnu Smith. So familiarity, he knows him. Probably assumes Jonnu's better in our system than Pat Freiermuth actually would be. A little bit more sudden, better after the catch. Maybe not as good of a blocker, but Jonnu's a really good blocker. So the blocking is comparable, and then the upside of Jonnu is way more than Pat. So I get why Pittsburgh wants him. Like, they should probably get a better quarterback, but on the short term, can we get this guy who I know already? We know he's good. We know he's a fit in the offense. Let's try to make it happen. I don't know what's going to go down because this all kind of happened today. For what I'm seeing, trade package wise, the Dolphins would send Jonnu Smith in a sixth-round pick and then get a fourth-round pick back. That's kind of what I'm saying. I don't like that. It could be a fourth and Pat Fryermuth, but regardless, I think Pat's a downgrade. So I don't want the downgraded tight end when we have the tight end that we like already. Jonnu fits our offense better than Pat Fryermuth does. So we're getting a competent tight end if that trade does in fact go down, but a lesser product. I don't now Pat is younger, so there's something there. And Pat signed an extension in 2022, I believe, for 4 years, which means that after this year, he would have 1 year left on his deal, which does line up with the Chris Greer's timeline of, hey, everybody's got basically a year, and if you're not good, we're cutting and starting over. If they give Jonnu an extension, it's going to be probably for at least 3 more years. So you would count this year plus 3 more. And so the idea is we don't want to like commit that many more years to him. Okay, there's some logic there. They will have to really sweeten the pot. It will have to be a third in Pat Fryermuth for me to start feeling a little bit better about that because I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be good this year. So that would be a higher end third round pick. And there's a lot of talent coming to the draft next year. I don't want to lose Jonnu though. I'll just be honest. Like, we finally got a tight end that I think works for the team. I don't want to lose him. But, you know, it's money. It's always money. We talk about it all the time. The answer to all your questions is money. Why would they do this? Money. Why should we do ask money? Now, I do think there's probably a price that we could offer Jonnu that's lower than what Pittsburgh could offer that he would stay. So let's say they want to offer him, let's say 3 years, 7-8 million a year, so 21 or 24. I think we could probably get away with 3 years, like 20, because of state taxes, and he knows the offense already. He's comfortable here. I think we don't have to go as high as Pittsburgh would, but teams tend to overpay when they've made other mistakes. Pittsburgh's made a mistake at quarterback. They made mistakes at receiver, the O-line. Najee left at running back. I think they might be in the business of overpaying. So, there has to be comparable. It can't be they're offering them 30 and we're offering them like 15. That doesn't work. But I'm very curious how this is going to play out. We still haven't done the Jalen Ramsey trade, which is going to go down at some point. So there's a little bit flux going on, but this was not on my bingo card. I didn't think Jonnu was even close to being on the way out. We've talked many times on this channel about, man, so happy we got Jonnu, got a tight end. He might be, wide receiver 2 or 3 if you really think about it. Hopefully that's the case. Now, the Dolphins have had a lot of issues on the offensive and defensive line, specifically at our outside linebacker defensive end position. We talked about it. Jaylen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, both either didn't play at all last year or missed a bunch of time. And we're expecting both of them to be very good. One is getting really, really paid in Bradley Chubb, although he's taking a pay cut. And then Jaylen Phillips is in the last year of his rookie deal, but because he's a first-round pick, that's actually a lot of money. So he's getting paid pretty well for a guy that has been hurt the last couple of years. We haven't done a lot about Bradley Chubb because I feel like he's the less explosive of the two. Bradley Chubb is a lot more physical, better against the run. He's more of like, I don't know, you're a 10 to 12 sack guy, but just will like hold it down. I can see Jaylen Phillips being like a 15, 16, 17 sack guy in an ideal situation where he's fully healthy. The last time he was healthy, he in 8 games had 6.5 sacks, right? That's almost a sack a game. That's what I see from Jaylen Phillips. Bradley Chubb, I can see, couple tackles for losses, good against the run, half a sack being like kind of a norm game for him, and then every now and again kind of bursting out, right? So because his ceiling, I think, is lower and he's a little bit older, I haven't spent a ton of time talking about him, but let's do that right now because he is talking because he is back on the practice field. And this is what he said about last year and kind of what he's looking forward to this year. He says, yeah, I had a good year in 2023, but at the end of the day, man, I didn't play a lick of football last year. I knew this is the team I wanted to be with. I knew the guys, the leadership were the guys I wanted to be around and to push me at the end of the day. And I know that I know what we can do here in Miami. A lot of doubters this offseason, a lot of talk. I'm excited just to be here and be able to show out. I hope he does. I mean, typically when you take a pay cut, it's because you know your value around the league is not as high. And you like your situation. This is the perfect situation for Bradley Chubb. The expectations aren't as high as they were when he first got brought to the team. He's made a lot of money already. And again, his upside was he was a Pro Bowler before. So do I think he can get back to Pro Bowl form? I don't know if he can get back to that guy. I think he can get to like 85% of what that dude was. But I think the year he went to the Pro Bowl, I believe he had 10.5, 11 sacks. It wasn't like a year he had a ton of sacks. He was just on a team that did well defensively, and he kind of burst on the scene. And honestly, I think the media kind of got behind him and were like, hey, Bradley Chubb might be one of those ones. And I think it kind of like put him over the fan vote. But he was never generational as a defensive and outside linebacker. But I do like the idea. Devon Achane did the same thing. Hey, we hear the doubt. We hear people saying, you're not going to be good. You injury prone. Are you really that dude? And he's saying basically, let's go. Love that. I would love for him to really be that guy. You know how I feel about Jaylen. Chop, we assume, will be there as well. If he can do 80% of what he did in 2023, 80% of that, Jaylen, 80, 90% of what he was, Chop making a leap, 10, 15, 20%, hey, you got 3 bona fide outside linebackers, man. You got something that we can build around. You have pass rushing, not level of the Giants, not the level of Philly and, like Houston, who has great DNs, but a team that can do the job on defense, can get after the quarterback, and then protect our secondary because we know the secondary, no matter what we do in free agency, we get Rasul, if we get, Asante, whoever it is, not going to be great. Could be serviceable, could be better than expected. It's not going to be great in the secondary. But if the D-line is really good, then the secondary doesn't have to be as good. They can take a C secondary and make it play like a C plus B minus because they're doing their job. So I love this energy. I like people. You doubting? Let me show you what I can do. So happy to hear from Bradley. Happy to hear from Bradley. Now we're doing a feature matchup. This is going to be Week 9 at Baltimore. Of all the games on our calendar, except maybe at Buffalo Week 3, this is a game that I'm the most I'm not optimistic about, and it's not for any particular reason outside of what the teams do well counterbalance each other, or more accurately, what one team does really well is really plays into the weaknesses of another team, right? I think Baltimore is maybe the most physical or second most physical team in the league. Philadelphia is arguably like in that same category. I think the Dolphins are not particularly physical on the O line or on the D line. And honestly, very few teams can stop Baltimore on offense. From one, moving the ball, two, specifically running the ball, and then three, Lamar. Right? It's three really big negatives, and we don't have the personnel and maybe the physicality to, like, in my opinion, stand up against that. And then mid-season in Baltimore, probably not going to be the best weather in the world, possibly snowing, for sure going to be cold. Don't love that. Played last year, absolute disaster. Just like it looked like there was leaks to this whole thing. I think Baltimore will be better next year because their O line last year, when the year first started, terrible. Go back and look at the Kansas City game against Baltimore. There was no protection on the O line. They were just after Lamar the whole game. The fact that that game even got down to a toenail in the back of the end zone is a testament to how good Lamar is because they weren't protecting. There was no cohesion, new offensive kind of system. They were trying to figure out are we more passing, running. Derrick Henry wasn't great in that game. He got keyed in to by Kansas City. They were like, we're stopping Derrick Henry, and then those guys couldn't get open basically. I think they're gonna be a lot better coming into this matchup. Again, assuming health with Bateman, and now I have D Hop. So that's the whole thing. The tight ends are big but likely, and Mark Andrews. And then I haven't even gotten to Baltimore's defense against Miami's offense. Baltimore's D line, not great. Solid, okay. Linebackers and secondary, awesome. So running the game, not going to be great. Roquan Smith might be one of the top two or three super instinctive on the linebacker position. I just don't love the matchup on the road against Baltimore. And the part that makes me even more weary is the next week we play Baltimore. Buffalo. Sorry. So we go from at Baltimore. The next week we know we got to go back home to play Buffalo. And so those two sandwiched together is just a disaster. It's probably the two worst matchups we have on our calendar back to back. And thank God it's not week 9 at Baltimore, week 10 at Buffalo. What are we talking about? But this to me is the worst matchup. I think the spread is going to be probably Baltimore 7.5 plus. I fully expect them to be super favorites for the game. I don't see like the matchups don't favor our team. It will have to be a situation of, we've found a running game halfway through the year and we control the offense somehow. Lamar will have to have an uncharacteristic 3-pick type game. It's just the teams don't match up well against each other. It's just kind of what it is. Like we usually don't match up well against Buffalo, but we've beaten them before. But typically it's like a lot of confounding variables happen. Crazy weather, guys fumbling the ball, like sunlight, like whatever it is. But when it's just that's not typically our best matchup. So I honestly am more afraid of this matchup than I am week 3 at Buffalo. 'Cause I think week 3, one, we should be as healthy as we're going to be. Realistically. We're coming off 2 games, Colts, Patriots, before that we should feel probably 2-0, feeling pretty good. And also, we get angst for Buffalo. We know that's in division, 2 matchups, whatever. Baltimore, we sometimes play them, we sometimes don't. We don't have a rivalry with them. It's just a thing. They typically score a bunch of points on us. Even when Tua did a 6-touchdown game to come back, Baltimore scored a bunch of points in that game. We just had a crazy fourth quarter and Tyreek was out of control. This is a matchup that I am the most about, and the fact that it's sandwiched right next to Buffalo game. Don't love that. Right after the Commanders game, don't love that. So there's a lot going on in there. Not looking forward to this matchup. If the Dolphins can figure out a way to win this game, that would be, to me, probably the biggest upset of the year. But, we'll see. Things have happened. But just know, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We will see you guys next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.